I was sitting alone in my apartment on Christmas night, staring at my phone in the darkness. The screen kept lighting up with notifications over and over like a desperate rhythm I refused to acknowledge. 3 days ago, I had a family. 3 days ago, I was invited to a Christmas dinner. 3 days ago, they told me I was a waste of space because I had no wife, no kids, no life worth mentioning. I smiled, grabbed my coat, and walked out of that house without saying a word. Now they were calling. Now they were begging. And I was just sitting here perfectly still, wondering if they even remembered what they said to me. Before I tell you how a single Christmas dinner turned into 47 desperate voicemails, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next will show you exactly what happens when people mistake quiet for weakness. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Maynard. I am 34 years old, and I work as a software architect for a major tech company in Seattle. The pay is good, around $250,000 a year, but I have never been one to show off. I live in a modest one-bedroom apartment downtown, drive a reliable sedan that is 7 years old, and spend most of my evenings reading or working on side projects. I do not talk much about my job with people outside of work. It just never seemed necessary. I have been single for about 2 years now, ever since my girlfriend and I decided we wanted different things from life. She wanted marriage and kids right away. I wanted to focus on my career for a bit longer. We parted on good terms, and I have been fine on my own since then. Some people think being alone means being lonely, but I learned the difference a long time ago. My parents died 5 years ago in a car accident on Interstate 5 during a winter storm. It happened fast. One moment they were driving home from visiting my brother, and the next moment they were gone. After that, the only family I had left was my older brother Gregory, his wife Patricia, and their 2 kids, Landon and Emma. Gregory is 39, 5 years older than me. He works part-time at a warehouse, picking up shifts when he can. Patricia stays home with the kids. They live in a house outside Portland, Oregon, about a 3-hour drive from where I am. I have been helping them out financially for the past few years. Every month, I send them around $1,500. I never made a big deal about it. I just set up an automatic transfer and figured it was the right thing to do. Gregory never asked where the money came from. He just accepted it, deposited it, and we never talked about it. I assumed he understood I was trying to help. Looking back now, I realize he probably thought it was just some small contribution, nothing significant. He had no idea what I actually made or what I did for a living. I never told him. About a week before Christmas, Gregory called me. His voice sounded flat, almost obligatory, like he was checking something off a list. He said Patricia wanted to have a big Christmas dinner and thought it would be nice if I came down. Then he added, almost as an afterthought, that Mom would have wanted us to be together for the holidays. I agreed immediately. I thought maybe this was a chance to actually connect with my brother again, to feel like we were still family despite everything that had happened. I went out and bought gifts for everyone. I got Landon and Emma a new gaming console, one of the expensive ones that had just come out, around $500. I picked up gift cards for Gregory and Patricia, along with a bottle of wine. I knew Patricia liked something that cost about $80. I was genuinely looking forward to it. I remembered the Christmases we had when our parents were still alive, the warmth and laughter that filled the house. I hoped maybe we could have a little bit of that again. I left Seattle around 3 in the afternoon on December 24th, driving south through the gray winter rain. The highway was busy with holiday traffic, but I did not mind. I listened to music and thought about how good it would feel to spend time with Landon and Emma, to see them open their presents, to maybe have a real conversation with Gregory for once. I arrived at his house just after 6 in the evening. The neighborhood was quiet, lined with modest homes decorated with Christmas lights. Gregory's house stood out because it was covered in decorations. There were lights strung across the roof, a massive inflatable Santa in the front yard, and a wreath on the door that looked like it cost more than it should. I parked on the street and grabbed the gifts from my trunk. When I walked up to the front door, I could hear music and laughter inside. I knocked, and Patricia opened the door. She looked at me, glanced at the gifts in my hands, and gave me a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. She said I should not have bothered, which seemed like an odd thing to say, but I brushed it off. I stepped inside and immediately noticed how much had changed since the last time I visited, maybe 8 months ago. There was a huge flat-screen television mounted on the wall, at least 70 inches. The old couch was gone, replaced by a massive leather sectional that looked brand new. The dining table had been upgraded too, some kind of dark wood with matching chairs. Everything looked expensive. I wondered briefly how they afforded all this, but I did not ask. It was not my place. The house was full of people I did not recognize, maybe 15 guests total. They were friends of Gregory and Patricia, people from their neighborhood or church or wherever they spent their time. I stood in the entryway holding my gifts, and nobody really acknowledged me. Gregory saw me from across the room and gave me a quick nod. He said, "Oh, you made it," like he had forgotten I was coming. Patricia took the gifts from me and set them under the tree without much ceremony. I introduced myself to a few people in the living room. They were polite, but not particularly interested. One man named Kurt asked what I did for a living. I told him I worked in tech software development. He nodded and immediately turned to talk to someone else. I felt like a stranger in my own brother's house. I found a spot in the corner of the living room and sat down. Landon and Emma ran over to say hello. They were polite kids, well-behaved, but there was something distant about the interaction. They asked if I brought them presents, and I said yes, we would open them after dinner. They nodded and ran off to play with some other kids. I watched them go and felt a strange heaviness in my chest. Dinner started around 7:30. The dining table was long extended with an extra leaf to fit everyone. I ended up sitting at the far end, near the kitchen, while Gregory and Patricia sat at the head of the table like hosts presiding over their kingdom. The food was elaborate, way more than necessary. There was a huge turkey, 3 different side dishes, rolls, salads, and multiple desserts already set out on the counter. As people ate, they talked about their lives, their jobs, their kids. I mostly stayed quiet, eating my food and listening. He nodded slowly, then asked if that paid well. I said it was fine. He seemed satisfied with that and moved on. Then Gregory jumped in from the other end of the table. He said, "Yeah, he sits at a computer all day, not much to talk about." A few people laughed. I tried to smile, but it felt forced. I took another bite of turkey and kept my eyes on my plate. Patricia leaned forward and looked at me with this expression I could not quite read. She asked if I was still single. When was I going to settle down? Her tone made it sound like an accusation, like being single at 34 was some kind of moral failure. I told her I was focusing on my career right now. A woman across the table, someone named Helen, chimed in and said, "That is what they all say, then you wake up 40 and alone." The whole table laughed again. I felt my face get hot, but I kept quiet. Gregory added, "Well, at least some of us figured out what really matters. Family, kids, real life." The implication was clear. I did not have any of that, so what did I have? I felt something twist in my stomach, but I just nodded and kept eating. Then Landon, innocent and curious, asked loudly from his seat, "Uncle Maynard, why do not you have a wife?" The whole table went silent. Everyone turned to look at me. I could feel their eyes, their judgment. I forced a smile and told Landon that sometimes life takes different paths, buddy. Gregory laughed this sharp, mocking sound and said, "That is a nice way of saying you cannot commit." A few people chuckled. I set my fork down and stared at my plate. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. I barely tasted the food. I just wanted it to be over. After dinner, everyone moved to the living room to open presents. The kids tore into their gifts with excitement. Landon and Emma opened the gaming console I brought and screamed with joy. They hugged me quickly and ran off to set it up. Gregory and Patricia opened the gift cards I gave them. Patricia said thanks, barely looking at me. Gregory nodded and stuffed the cards in his pocket. Then I realized something. There were no presents for me. Not a single one. I looked around at the pile of wrapping paper and opened boxes, and there was nothing with my name on it. Gregory must have noticed me looking because he cleared his throat and said, "Oh man, we thought you would not make it. You are always so busy, so we did not get you anything." I told him it was okay, that I understood, but inside I felt hollow. The guests continued talking and laughing. Kurt started bragging about some business venture he was involved in. He turned to Gregory and asked how the job hunt was going. Gregory sighed and said he was still looking for something full-time, that it was tough out there. Kurt nodded sympathetically. Patricia added that they were managing, that Gregory picked up shifts when he could. Then someone I do not even remember who asked if Gregory's brother helped out. The room got quiet. Gregory looked at me across the room and said, "He sends a little something now and then, but he has got his own life." A little something. I had been sending them $1,500 every single month for years, and he called it a little something. I felt my jaw tighten, but I said nothing. Helen turned to me and said, I should help my brother more, that family comes first. I just stared at her. Patricia joined in, saying it was fine, they did not expect much from someone with no wife, no kids, no responsibilities. Gregory laughed and said, at least when you are alone, you only have to worry about yourself. Kurt nodded and said it must be nice to have all that free time and money just for myself. I stood up. Everyone looked at me. I said I thought I should go. Gregory frowned and asked if I was leaving already, that we had not even had dessert yet. I told him I had a long drive back to Seattle. Patricia stood up, her voice sharp and annoyed. She asked if I was seriously going to waste their Christmas like this. I stopped and turned around. I asked her what she meant by waste their Christmas. She said they invited me, made space for me at the table, and now I was just going to leave. Gregory nodded and said, yeah, man, that is pretty selfish. I looked around the room.